Well, hey everyone, and welcome to Young Adult Edition. We are so excited to see you today. We are talking all about fantasy books. This is going to be so much fun, and we have some incredible guest stars here with us today. We're going to get to them in just a minute, but we have a jam-packed episode for you today. We've got announcements, we've got a recap of an amazing book event we're going to talk about in just a few minutes, and three fabulous authors joining us live to talk all about their fantasy novels. Elle, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. I am so excited for this episode because you know me, I love fantasy.
I know. I'm the sci-fi girl, you're the fantasy girl. So you are like in heaven today. Super excited for this episode. I'm thrilled to pieces because we have some amazing people we're hanging out with today. I'm very, very excited for this. Lots of good things happening here. And I want to let everybody know that we want you to stick around because we are giving away a list of 45 plus fantasy book recommendations today. We will let you know how to get your hands on those in just a little bit. But we're really, really excited because we're hanging out with some of these authors. We're giving you this list of fantasy books. It's going to be really, really good. And before we dive into today's episode, dive being the keyword, I'm going to pull a little fun little thing here because I want to tell you about something really cool that happened this week as we kind of navigate into our book world news for the day and our new releases. So you guys know we always do fun, fabulous book releases of the week. Let me pull this up on the screen so you guys can see. We do have some great book releases this week, including one of mine. I'm super excited because the last book in Selena's trilogy, Inside of the Siren War Saga, actually comes out tomorrow. So if you are a fan of mermaid books, you can get your hands on a copy of the last one in the Siren War Saga, Selena's trilogy, Inside of the Story. I'm very excited for it, but we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. And yesterday, and over the weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, I had some fun events going on. I was actually part of a mermaid pool party because I am now working with this amazing company called Fin Fun Mermaids. I am going to be blogging for them. So if you guys hang out with me over at Fin Fun Mermaids, you are going to see all sorts of interviews with mermaid authors. We are going to be talking about mermaid things. We will be doing mermaid crowns, how to make them. So my first blog post for them is coming out in a few days. It's all about how to make a mermaid crown for under $5, which is pretty dang cool. And so I got to go and hang out with them at the pool party that they threw in New Jersey. They've been doing them all around the country. And real quick, I just want to show you a couple of images from this because I got to be a mermaid. And let's just talk about how fun that is. So let me just real quick bounce through these. I'm going to pull this up full screen so that you guys can see. There's me in a mermaid tail. I'm hanging out with Mermaid Kalis and Mist the Mermaid. You can actually look them up on Instagram. They are pretty amazing gals. And you can see I'm hanging out in a tail just like my mermaid, Selena, inside of my series. So we're just going to bounce through these real quick. Super fun. I had a great time with these ladies. We laughed. We ended up in a promo video. We hung out with a shark for Shark Week. Their thing was sharks at this particular pool. The mermaid are holding my book here.
It's me week.
So cute.
That is so cute.
I know. And then we had this fun gift bag given to us. So if you guys are a fan of mermaid tales, definitely recommend Fin Fun. Lots and lots of fun we had while we were there at the party, hanging out with the professional mermaids. And so I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. They do have more parties coming out, so make sure you check that out and see if there's one near you because they're all over the country. Lots and lots of fun. And be sure to stay tuned with me because we're doing lots of blog things over there for them and interviewing some amazing mermaid authors. Super excited. But I know we have more things we need to discuss. We're going to rapid fire this real quick. The golden book boxes have been shipped. I'm super excited for that. Check this out. We have all the gloriousness, the full 5-book series. We've got the candle, which was actually created by my beautiful co-host, and the chapstick. There's artwork in there. There are magnetic bookmarks and flower crowns and letters and necklaces and all sorts of fun, fabulous things. Those shipped out. The first batch shipped out earlier this week, and they've already started arriving with fabulous new owners. So I'm really excited about that. And because more book world news, It just keeps coming this week. We're super excited about this. Sometimes we don't have a lot of book world news, but we definitely do today. We actually have author Freedom Matthews with us. She was just at a book event, so we're going to pull her up on screen so she can join us and tell us all about this amazing event that she was just at. Freedom, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. You?
Good. We're super excited to see you. We know you're exhausted because you just had one heck of a weekend. What did you do?
I was at the Young Adult Literary Conference, also known as YALC, in London, and it's part of the London Film and Comic Con. So it's a lot of hecticness running around, but it's been great seeing new authors, old authors, fans, everything. It's been such fun.
Yeah, and I know you had such a great time. You saw all these famous people, which we're going to ask you about in a minute. I know Elle was really jealous you got to meet one in particular. And I know you got to see a lot of really cool bookish people. You got to sign books. So tell us a little bit about your experience, and then we're going to get into the famous people.
It's just this is my first event of this kind before, so it's really interesting to see people bring your book from home to come and have it signed. And my book, I don't want to sound too over the top, but it sold out within the first 2 days, so that was really fun for me. And signing books for people and running around with my postcards is just really great. Meeting people and even people who haven't read my book yet who look interested was just fun. And hanging out with my off-terms family as well, my publishing family, or even people coming over from the US just to hang out. So it's just really fun.
And you had a lot of your authors hanging out with you from your company as well, which was really exciting. I know you got a lot of fun experiences and you got to hang out with the readers, which was really fun. And I know you stood a lot, right?
A lot. Just you want to be available to people and just to chat with them. So you want to be sort of seen. So it's just, being on your feet is hard work, guys.
Yeah. So Elle, do you want to go ahead and ask her maybe a little bit about who she saw while she was there?
Sure. Who did you see? And after that question, what was the absolute highlight of your time spent there?
Well, luckily, we up in YALC, there's the green room for the celebrities who are having their signings and pictures downstairs in the Comic Con, and we saw Jason Momoa, which is the big guy there. He's really cool. He looks really amazing, and he may look slightly different to what I imagined, but he is amazing to look at. And then you had Steven Seagal and David Bradley, who plays Walder Frey or Argus Filch in Harry Potter. So that's really cool. But I did hear there was Peter Capaldi, one of the Doctor Who's, and Ramsay Bolton wandering around, but I missed them.
I'm sure you were super busy too. And Elle wanted to know, what was your absolute highlight?
I think it was spending time with my off-terms family, but it also was just being around people with the same loves as you, YA books, and everyone having the same passion. It's just amazing. You just feel so at home.
And speaking of which, we actually want to talk to you about your story. But first, if you are here joining us live, we're so excited to see you. Thank you guys for joining us. Go ahead and drop your questions and your comments below because we want to hear from you. If you are on our rebroadcast, please leave us your questions and comments as well. We will be hanging out in the comments afterwards, and we will get you as many answers as possible. And if you come up with a question that's really, really good, and we did not answer it on air, we might just be able to drag these ladies back on for a bonus episode to get your question answered. So hit us with your best questions in those comments below and let us know what you want to hear more about. And while you're here, make sure you let us know which fantasy book or which fantasy series is your favorite. Which one should we be chatting about while we are on air today? Let us know in those comments below. So Freedom, you are a fantasy author. You have a book called Inherited. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's Jane Austen meets Pirates of the Caribbean. It's about a group of cursed pirates who cannot say "I love you," otherwise they will die. As I said, I think I've said it in my previous interview with you, K.m. The tagline is, "If saying I love you meant death, would you still say it?" So, and there's also a companion novel called Into the Forest, which shows the basis of the curse as well. So it's bittersweet novel with fantasy elements.
Which we absolutely love. And Freedom, I know that you're a big fan of reading in general. Why do you think fantasy books are so important and so many people are drawn to fantasy novels?
For me personally, it's escapism. I love the fact that you just jump into it. It's not like real world. You can just let your imagination just run wild. And yeah, I just love the fact with dystopian and contemporary, you could find it anywhere in that respect, or you could see it happening in the future. Oh goodness, that could happen. But with fantasy, not every day. It's not every day you can imagine seeing a dragon wandering around or a mermaid even.
That's a good point. Elle, I've been doing a lot of talking on this episode because we have a lot of organizing going on because we have so many people hanging out with us today. Do you have questions before I just kind of steamroll you here?
Where did the idea of saying I love you, like how did that come to be for an idea for this novel?
Oh, good question.
We ask the hard ones here.
Yeah, I think the forbidden romance is something that I've always loved, and that is just the highest stake you could get, really, isn't it, with a romance? You're going to find every other way of trying to say something or show it without actually saying it. I can't really tell you exactly how I found it, but that's all I can say. It's just the forbidden love aspect. I just wanted to find a quirk on that.
That's a very interesting idea. I mean, everybody says actions speak louder than words. So it's a very interesting concept. And I have it. I've been busy writing, so I haven't.
I don't judge. I feel the same. It's so hard to write and read at the same time.
It really is.
And I love that you kind of worked this curse into your story as well, because they have a lot that they have to go through to kind of not necessarily be overrun by this curse. So do you love the idea of having curses in stories, or is that something particular to this one?
In my other works that I'm working on right now, there isn't really a curse. So I guess, yeah, Inherited for me is the basis. Because I've got 3 novels planned in the entire series, there's a curse weaving through each of them. So I guess it's from the old fairy tales, I guess. They have some sort of curse, prick your finger on a spinning wheel, that type of issue. So it's from childhood, I guess. It just evolves.
That's fantastic. All right, switching gears just a little bit, we do want to chat about fantasy. And I know you kind of gave us your reasoning why you are a big fan of fantasy. Do you have any book recommendations for us? Anything that you think maybe influenced your own writing that we should be checking out as well?
The books that influenced Inherited are actually adult, so I don't know if I can tell you them, but there's a few that I'm just trying to think my brain. Well, the one that stuck out to me this weekend that just reminded me how good it was is a book called Mist and Whispers by C.M. Lucas. It's like portals and bookshops and friends, and there's so much magic in it. She's amazing too, and I'm so excited for the next book. That for me, the 2 that influenced Inherited were Daughter of the Forest by Judith Marillier and Robin Hobb's Farseer trilogy. So again, they're adult fantasy, but they have elements of YA in them.
Fantastic. All right, Freedom, we are going to let you go because I know you're exhausted. You have been doing so much this weekend. You had 3 full days at a book event where you were standing and socializing, and we do not want to hold you up. But we do want to let everybody know where to find you. But first, why should everybody pick up a copy of Inherited? I know we put you on the spot for this before because you recently did an interview with me, so it's okay to kind of say the same thing. That's totally fine. But why should we be reading your book? And you can't say Jane Austen meets Pirates of the Caribbean because that's what I get to say.
Forbidden romance, diverse characters, and a sea witch that's really grumpy.
And we're big fans of sea witches around here. So if you guys have not read Inherited by Freedom Matthews, make sure you get your hands on a copy today. Highly recommend. Freedom, where can everybody find you?
They can find me on Facebook at Freedom M Rights, on Instagram on Freedom M Rights, and on Twitter as Freedom Matthews.
Fantastic. Freedom, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. You and I will chat soon. You guys know that Freedom and I talk all the time. So we will be getting her back on the show again soon. We will talk with her more about her book and her upcoming books. And if you've got questions for Freedom, hit us in those comments below. We will drag her back for more fun and fabulousness. And if you did not see Freedom's episode of her author interview with me, make sure you hit up blog.k.m.robinsonbooks.com or hang out right here on facebook.com/k.m.robinsonbooks and check out her full episode where we ended up harassing each other on air because it was so much fun. Make sure you guys check it out. So great. And we have a blog interview with her over on blog.k.m.robinsonbooks.com with totally unique questions. Make sure you hit that up as well. Thanks, Freedom. We'll see ya.
Bye-bye.
All right. So we are talking all about fantasy novels today. If you are here joining us live, we are so excited to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Drop us your name below and what fantasy novel you love the most. We are big fans here. No one more than Elle Beaumont. And we are excited to be talking all things fantasy today. We do have some amazing authors with us. We just talked with Freedom Matthews, and we are going to be talking to Sarah K.L. Wilson. She is the author of Dragon School, and we are super excited to chat with her today. If you have questions, if you have comments, go ahead and hit us up in those comments below. If you're on the replay, we still want to hear from you guys. We will be checking in with you soon. Sarah, how are you?
I'm doing really well.
We are so excited to see you. Elle and I have actually gotten to know you a little bit through one of the communities that we're in on Facebook, and we actually recently heard a podcast that you did. So we know a little bit about your background, but we want to hear all about your story. So tell us a little bit about Dragon School.
So Dragon School is a story about a disabled girl and a really empathetic dragon. And she wants to be a dragon rider, and she comes across this dragon who he just has a heart of gold. And so it's basically her story working with him, and through a series of crazy events, they end up saving the world. But she has no idea at the beginning that it's going this direction. She just wants to ride a dragon, and he happens to be there ready to be ridden.
That's awesome. And we have people jumping into the comments saying that they love you. So lots of love for Sarah right now. If you've got questions for her, if you've got comments, hit us up below and we will get those answered for you while we're hanging out on air. So Sarah, how did you choose to go to this particular fantasy element with the dragons for your story?
Well, I love fantasy books. I love adult, like Elle there, and I also love YA. And I wanted to write a book that kind of had an idea of people going to a school, but I didn't want it to be a magic school. And so I was thinking, well, what could another option be? And I thought, well, what about like an aerial training? I like those World War II shows where they have like people learning to fly fighter jets and, learning to drop the bombs and stuff. I thought, well, what about if it was dragons? Because that would open up a whole new element. And I've actually found it a tiny bit challenging because now they can go all kinds of places and I have to try and keep track of, well, if someone's on a horse, how long would it take compared to someone on a dragon? But it's pretty neat to write about dragons.
That's kind of amazing. And I love that was your inspiration behind the story as well. So tell us just a little bit about your dragons. I haven't actually read your series yet. So are there all specific types of dragons or do you have like multiple kinds of dragons? Give us a little background.
So my dragons, all the ones we've met so far in the books are male. There's a little surprise coming for season 2 where we're going to finally get to meet some girl dragons, but they come in different colors and each color has its own thing that's its deal. So like the reds are kind of a more gnarly, bigger dragon and they are war dragons. And the blacks are also a larger dragon, but not quite as gnarly as the reds. And they manage defense of cities. A lot of the cities in the Dominion where the dragons are sky cities. So they're way up in the sky on these huge magical structures that hold them up there. And these black dragons circle those cities and keep them safe. There's golds and they do diplomacy. There are whites and they're in charge of healing and first aid and all that kind of a thing. Our main girl, she rides a purple, and the purples are messenger dragons. So they bring messages from place to place. And there are also greens, and greens are explorers and adventurers. So we also, halfway through the series, we meet silvers. I guess I could do a little spoiler. Silvers guard the Dominar. He's like the head of the Dominion, and they're his special bodyguards. And there are more colors coming, but not till season 2.
Ooh.
That's
so
so exciting.
You do these in seasons.
Yeah, so they're written like a TV serial, basically. So they're in novella form. So there's only 100 pages in each episode. And right now we're at episode, I think 13 is the one releasing on August 2nd. They come out every 18 days, so I lose track of which one we're on. I know which one I'm writing, but which one's coming out, I sometimes forget. But yeah, it's like I love watching TV more than movies. So if you think of a novel like a large movie, like a 2.5 hour movie, these are like TV serial episodes. Like if you watch The 100 or my personal favorite, Psych, I have them all on DVD. And so this is like watching and rewatching your favorite TV series.
That's kind of amazing. And Elle and I actually heard a podcast with you when you were talking about this, and you inspired the two of us to try this as well. So we're kind of working on something similar too, which we think is amazing. We were absolutely enthralled with the conversation you were having on the podcast. And I'm seeing in the comments that people are super excited about your book. And we do have a lot of questions. We're going to jump right in. We do want to know if certain characters are going to be in season 2. I'm not going to try to say the names because I will mess them up, but are they going to...
That's Amal, our main character, and Rayokan, her dragon, and Lang, who's her love interest. And all the main characters from that survive season 1 will have cameo appearances in season 2. It'll be a different main character, but these people will be in the new roles that they'll have in season 2.
That's fantastic. Now explain to me how you're breaking this up into seasons, because I am just fascinated with this. So you've got season 1, you've got season 2. What kind of differentiates the two of them?
So season 1 follows Amal and Rayokan and all of their friends. And it's culminating at a huge battle, basically for the future of the world. And when that battle is won or lost, because I don't want to spoil it, at the end of that battle is when season 2 will start. So you'll get like little glimpses into how things ended up for the main characters after everything went down. I don't want to spoil it too much, but we'll follow through the eyes of a brand new boy and his dragon for season 2. So it's going to be the same world, but with a whole different adventure and setup and huge thing that he's got to do. Here's a little spoiler that's not too spoilery. So season 1's been in the Dominion and a neighboring country called Baojang. And a lot of the next season should be in a neighboring country called Kotorinth. So they'll be headed up there and we'll get to view a whole new part of the world. And we're also going to see a little bit of the heart of the dragon's world, their land, which we haven't gotten to go into yet, which is kind of neat.
That's fascinating. How far advanced are you in writing? Like, are you super far ahead or just kind of a couple of books ahead?
I'm just a couple books ahead. I'm always 30 days ahead of release. So that's about a book and a half.
That's amazing. And we actually have a question from Belinda. She wants to know, how hard is it to write a book and release it every 2 weeks?
I found it incredibly hard, but my poor fans are ravenous and they find that 18-day wait difficult. And so I already have people asking for the arc of the one that I'm in the middle of writing. I'm only halfway through. So that usually inspires me to keep on going because I have to get this thing done in time.
Yeah, that is fascinating. I feel like I want to have you back for a full episode if you would be okay with that. And we would love to get really involved in what you're doing here and kind of suss out how you are doing this and so successfully as well.
Well, that sounds great. I'd love that.
Awesome. Belinda does want to know, will you have a dragon that can shapeshift into a human in upcoming books?
I don't plan to do that. I'm sticking strictly with dragon riders. I know that there's a lot of really successful series with dragon shifters, and I think that's awesome. But we're going to keep our dragons just as dragons.
Fantastic. Belinda is giving lots of love to Psych. I'm a big fan of that TV show as well. So if you are a fan of Psych, go ahead and leave us some comment love below. And maybe if we're really, really good, we can just kind of get ourselves in front of maybe the actors and get them to come hang out with us on a show sometime. All I'm saying.
Why not?
Right. Right. We actually just hung out with author Annie Sullivan of A Touch of Gold, and she's a big fan of Shark Week. She is lobbying to be a host of Shark Week, and we're going to make a push for her on social media. So we'll make a push to hang out with the psych guys. It'll be lots of fun. So, Sarah, tell me a little bit about fantasy. I know you're clearly a fan of fantasy. Why do you think it's so important for us to be diving into the world of fantasy as readers?
Well, I think fantasy touches on the things that matter the most to us. Like everyone, I think, wants to feel like we're part of something bigger and like there's some great purpose to why we're here. And I think the great thing about fantasy books is that people in the books, they always have some great big purpose. Even small people who seem insignificant end up playing really important roles. And, it's usually about the salvation of the world or at least your nation. And I think we like to think, that's my life. My life has a big, important, glorious purpose, even if maybe I don't know what it is yet. And I think that's why people connect so much with fantasy books.
I love that. Do you have a favorite fantasy that we should be checking out or something that maybe inspired you?
So I'm pretty old school. And what I love, I'm a massive Wheel of Time fan. Like, I'm 35 now. And when I was 15, I started reading those books and I read them ravenously throughout my teens. They weren't done yet. So I'd reread the series and reread it. So that's a really good one. I can't recommend enough. And I'm also a huge Terry Pratchett fan. He writes humorous fantasy. And there's just so much deep philosophical insight in his work. I was just thinking this morning about one of his books, Thud, which is about racism, really, in cities. But it's actually a fantasy book that kind of talks about that. And I can't recommend those books enough. They're fantastic.
Awesome. Elle, I know that I have talked a lot, so go ahead and you ask your questions.
I think you actually covered most of them, but
I'm good like that.
I just want to say, I totally agree with why we should be reading fantasy novels. And also Terry Pratchett is just amazing. And coupled with Neil Gaiman, I mean, those two together.
She's a huge fan.
Yes. Okay, so Sarah, I want to talk just for a minute about why people should be reading your series. We know a little bit about it. We've gotten some exclusives out of you today. Why should people pick up the very first book in your series? And actually, what is the first book in your series called? Because I know Dragon School is your overarching title.
Yeah. So the first one is called First Flight, which should be easy to remember, first flight, because it's about Amal riding Railcan for the very first time. And I think that people who love stories that are kind of like a brighter, more hopeful story, although they go through some really dark times, and who love stories about an underdog succeeding are going to love these books because they're about Amal. One of her legs doesn't work, and she's got to go through a fantasy world with fighting and action, adventure, and riding dragons with only one leg that works. If you love an underdog, and if you love stories that end happily in the end, and if you like stories that kind of give you the warm fuzzies from time to time, then this is the series for you.
Perfect. Thanks so much for joining us, Sarah. We do appreciate you being here. Let everybody know where they can find you.
So you can find me on Facebook as Sarah K.L. Wilson. And you can also find my Amazon profile to look at all those Dragon School books and it's Sarah K.L. Wilson again.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you. And we are definitely going to get you back for a full episode to talk exactly how you broke down the creation of your series. We will talk to you again soon. Thanks.
Thanks, girls.
All right. If you are joining us live, we want to hear from you. What is your favorite fantasy novel and why do you love it so much? Let us know in the comments. And if you're on the rebroadcast here on facebook.com/k.m.robinson books, or if you are on our YouTube page, or if you're on our blogs, we want to hear from you. Drop your questions in the comments and we will get back to you ASAP. And like I said, today we are dropping 45 plus book recommendations for you. We want to give that out to you in just a few minutes. I'm really excited for it. In fact, you can actually jump into the comments because I have something really, really cool for you. I want you to type "Give me fantasy" into those comments below, and we will pop up in your direct message inbox, and we are going to give you that list of 45 plus novels that are fantasy YA. We cannot wait for you to check them out. These are by some amazing author friends of ours. Type "Give me fantasy" into the into the comments, and we will pop into your direct message inbox and give you that link right now so you can check that out as well. And it's going to have some other fun, fabulous things in there a little bit later today when we add in today's rebroadcast. So type in "Give Me Fantasy" and we will get that to you right now. All right, we have one more fabulous author we are hanging out with today. We're super excited to chat with her. And if you have questions, if you have comments, let us know below. And while we're pulling her up, we need you to do us a favor. We want you to hit that share button. Because when you hit the share button, that tells Facebook we are doing something good. We are doing something fabulous, and more people should be watching our episode of this show. When it shows it to more people, we get more people hanging out with us, we get more fabulous authors hanging out with us, and we can do more really cool things for the show. In fact, we've got some really big things we can't tell you about yet coming up on the show in the next few weeks and the next few months. It is going to be so dang good, and when you hit that share button, you help us out. You let Facebook know we're doing something good, and we can do more and more fabulous things. So help a girl out. Hit the share button. We're loving today. So we're pulling up T.S. Velmond. She is the author of Courier's Code, and we're so excited to be chatting with her today as we are pulling her up on screen with us. Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
We are so excited to see you today. Tell us a little bit about your book.
Okay, well, the Courier's Code started a dream. I'll just be honest. I had a dream about this kingdom in a faraway place. And as I started thinking more and more about this place, I imagined that there, of course, would be princesses, because whenever you're in a faraway place, there must be princesses. But I like my princesses with a little edge. And so this princess is running from her past. She's keeping her true identity a secret while she works her day job, which is getting things delivered. And sometimes she has to use a sword to do that.
That's feisty.
Yeah, feisty.
Elle and I are just like, tell us more.
I know.
So her world is made up of a lot of different kinds of aliens, basically. They come in different shades. She is of a people who are purple. So she has purple skin and really white hair as a young person. And her team, I don't want to give too much away about it, but her team is made up of also other people from other kingdoms. They come in greens, they come in pinks, and they have different color hair and different styles, and there's all kinds. Yeah, very diverse.
That is fantastic. And we've got some people jumping into the comments, giving you a lot of love. They are very interested, and they're definitely going to be checking this out. So we're super excited to hear that. We love to support other authors. So guys, if you are here on our live or our rebroadcast, make sure you're getting your hands on copies of these books today, because how cool. Look how gorgeous that cover is, too. All the colors. Love it. Love it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. When I was on your Amazon page, I was looking at all the color, like that just pops out at you. It's just gorgeous.
My cover artist was amazing. She's Frost Alexis. She's on Facebook, and she has some of the best artwork I've ever seen. And I was so fortunate to get her to do that series.
That's so exciting. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how you chose to go through this particular type of fantasy novel. So there's a ton of different ways you could have gone within the fantasy world. What made you decide to go with more of the aliens and the purple skin?
I am a true sci-fi fantasy person. Like, I don't do one without the other. My sci-fi needs a little fantasy, and my fantasy needs a little sci-fi. And when I started this series over a year ago, I knew that this universe wasn't going to be limited to just this planet of Balaji. Like, I knew this was going to go beyond. And so I thought, what better way is to just dive in and see where it takes me. Well, now, not to give too much away, but there's a lot more going to be happening in the universe, and my readers will find lots and lots of Easter eggs as we go on.
Oh, I love that. I'm a big fan of Easter eggs, and I feel like knowing that there are some in there, I kind of love looking as I'm going and then seeing if I caught them all. I just feel like that's so much fun. Are you one of those people that like searches books and movies and TV shows for Easter eggs?
I don't search, but when they pop up, I'm so delighted. I'm thrilled that it just keeps me wanting more. So I wrote this series with that in mind. It's a complete 3 books, but my readers know it's not the end. Like there's obviously more that's going to happen. But I started another series in that world that takes place a couple of 100 years later. And that's my little deaf mermaid. You know, you have to have a mermaid like pop up every once in a while. So I have a mermaid in the prequel and a mermaid in the sequel. So she takes things kind of off world. So I needed her character to kind of be a part of that. And there's some Easter eggs from the original series that will pop up in there.
That's so exciting. Elle and I are both mermaid authors, so we're just like, this is amazing.
I know, sci-fi
Perfect.
and fantasy with mermaids. Like,
yeah, it's kind of required. I mean, I believe mermaids in space needed to be done, so I did it.
that is so fun. That is absolutely fun. Now, was that part of your dream as well?
Not the original, no. But when I wrote the series, I also wrote a prequel that takes place 200 years before we meet the courier. And that mermaid is kind of the one that sets the stage for what's to come. So I knew I wanted another non-typical mermaid in my series. And so when the opportunity came up to showcase a deaf character, I knew that this mermaid was going to be the one, and she's gonna continue this series into space.
Wow.
And I love how innovative that is too. I feel like it's really amazing that you came up with mermaids in space. Do you feel like fantasy is a great place for authors to be innovative because they have that freedom, or do you think that that's kind of something else?
You know, I am a lover of traditional fantasy and also inventive fantasy. My world is not a typical magical world. It's more medieval style with some technology thrown in, because I wanted my character to be strong, but not necessarily magical, my original character. So when I wrote further characters in the series, I knew some of them would have some more traditional abilities and fantasy elements. So I worked really hard to make the world cohesive and show kind of how you can start off in a world with almost virtually no magic, but then later you're going to find, well, there are some more fantastical elements. And, you know, my series has everything. There's dragons, there's wolves, there's bears, there's all kinds of stuff. So I feel like there's really no limit. When you're in fantasy, there's no limit. Why limit yourself?
I love that. I think that is so great. And I kind of like that you pull bits and pieces in and you get all of this stuff into one united world. Elle, I know I've been talking a lot. Questions?
No, I mean, I just think that's amazing that you're just building this massive world. I am a huge fan of massive worlds. And if you can expand on the series, you know, like it just, when you work so much and lay groundwork, it's just amazing. I find it so amazing when authors really use the world that they build, because there's so much. And obviously you put so much work into this world. I mean, that's amazing. And it came from a dream.
Yeah, I don't want to let those characters go, right? You want to hold on to those characters for as long as possible. They're so great.
Exactly.
So what better way than to keep expanding their universe? Yeah.
Exactly. And the fact that it came from a dream, and I'm a dream girl, like if you have the dream, write it.
Elle's a big fan of dreams. All right. So I do want to switch gears just a little bit. I want to talk about fantasy in general. Do you feel like a lot of things have come before you that have really influenced your story, or is it kind of something that you really just made up on your own?
It's influenced because I'm a reader. Like you all, I've been reading since I was a little girl and writing since I was a little girl, but I also didn't see as many characters that reflected me that I wanted. I wanted more that had my personality, my quirks, my some of my background, some of my history, some of my struggles. And I felt like there are a lot of books out there that approached the subject, but I didn't see a lot in sci-fi and fantasy. I still don't. There should be so much more. So I figured I could wait for someone to write it for me, or I could write it myself.
That's a good way to go at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have written a lot of what you did not see into fantasy. Do you feel like that's a fair assessment to say that you built a lot of what you could not find for yourself?
Correct. That would be correct.
I'm such a big fan of that because, like you, I feel like a lot of myself has not been seen within movies and books and TV shows. And so I did that as well. I jumped in and wrote some of my own personality into this. So a lot of your own life has influenced your books. Do you feel like that your life influenced the book in general, or specifically your main character?
I would say in general, because my main character isn't really like me, but there's pieces of me in each of my characters. Even some of the less obvious ones that have some of my quirks and things in them. And I like that. I think that's the best thing about being an author, is that you get to create worlds and a universe, and you can populate it with people of your favorite kind.
Yes. All right. So let us know, what is one reason people should pick up your book? What is your best pitch for that?
I would say if you like non-typical princesses who like to kick a little butt, to get in there, you're going to like this book. It's got a little of everything for everyone. So I would say fantasy world meets sci-fi world, and only getting bigger.
Fantastic. Let everybody know where they can find you.
I'm on Facebook and Instagram at tsvolmont, and you can check me out on my website at tsvolmont.com. I love to give away gifts in the form of books for people who sign up and want to know what's happening with me. You're welcome to do that anytime.
Fantastic. Guys, make sure you check her out and hit her up on social media. Thank you so much for joining us. We loved having you here. We can't wait to have you back on the show again.
Awesome. Thank you.
We'll see you soon. Hey, listen, if you are here with us live, or if you're joining our rebroadcast, we want to hear from you. What's your favorite fantasy book? Do you have questions for our authors today? We want to know what we need to tell you more of. And we're super excited because, as you know, here at Young Adult Edition, we are incredibly social people on social media, and we want to chat with you. So let's continue the conversation over on social media. We gave you links to all of our fabulous authors today. We also want to let you know that you can reach us. So now we talked all about fantasy books today. Your puppy dog's even excited as well. And we are going to wrap up our fantasy episode today. Why do you think fantasy... Your dogs are so excited today. Yeah, that's okay. Why do you think fantasy is so important for us to be diving into as readers?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Why would your puppies recommend fantasy books?
Why would they recommend the fantasy books? Because they get to escape into new worlds. No.
Escape into new worlds where they can bark whenever they want.
So they can get the bad guys, whoever is making the noise, and they can chase the mystical weasel.
Yes. Oh gosh. I know you're a big fantasy fan, so before we go, if you could recommend any fantasy series, what would it be?
I'm going to go a little bit old school, and this is mostly because this is what really started me into the fantasy genre and what really just ignited my love for, sorry about that, reading in general. And that would be Tolkien, all of his books, The Hobbit, Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers. I mean, it is just epic adventure, epic fantasy. You have dragons, elves, hobbits, evil bad guy, and it's good versus evil. I mean, that to me was what started my love for it all. And I can't thank my mother enough for being like, if you like fantasy, read this. This is going to be a challenge, but it's going to be worth it. And I can't thank her enough for that, because really that's what started it all.
Yes. And as for me, I highly recommend anything by Jennifer Ann Davis. This is just happens to be one of hers that I have a copy of sitting next to me. Anything by Jennifer Ann Davis is great for the fantasy world. Very medieval, very wonderful, lots of magic. And I also recommend Ms. Elle Beaumont's books. She's got a magical take on mermaids inside of the Deep Mermaid anthology, which you should highly check out. I highly recommend that you should check out if I'm going to speak English. And you can also, if you want to hang out with me, you can check out my Siren Wars Saga series. You already know the final book in Selena's trilogy comes out tomorrow, and this baby's free, as is Elle's book. Elle's book is also free, the Of the Deep Mermaid anthology, which you can get right now. And you can also hang out with my sci-fi / fantasy book, Virtually Sleeping Beauty, which is a twisted take on Sleeping Beauty, where Sleeping Beauty is trapped inside a virtual reality game, and she can't wake up in the real world, so the prince comes in to save her, but really, she's got this. She can fight the digital dragons and the magicians and the evil queens, and he's just there to be eye candy. Let's just be real. He's a cute golden knight. It's all good. So check it out. We are big fans of fantasy over here. We want to hear from you. If you did not get your copy of today's recommendation list of 45 plus, and we're still adding, it's still growing list of fantasy novels, make sure that you do that. You want to type in "give me fantasy" into those comments below, and we will pop up in your direct message inbox and get that list to you right now. Later today, we're adding some more fabulous content into that list. We are going to be putting the rebroadcast, and we're super excited to get your reactions. And if we missed something, let us know, because we would love to add it to the list as well. And if you have an author you want to see on Young Adult Edition, jump into those comments below and tag them. We want to make a connection. We want to get to know your friends. We want to make new author friends, and we want new guest stars for our show. So go ahead and jump into those comments below and let us know that you are excited and that you do, in fact, want more fabulous authors on this show. We would love to hear from you. Elle, let everybody know where they can find you.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Elle Beaumont Books, and you can also find me on Twitter at Elle Beaumont, and you can always find me on my website at ellebeaumontbooks.com.
Fantastic. And I am K.m. Robinson, author of the Golden Trilogy, the Jaded Duology, the Legends Chronicles, Virtually Sleeping Beauty, the Siren Wars Saga, and a whole bunch of other fabulous books that are out and coming out later this year. You can hang out with me at k.m.robinsonbooks.com, where I have world portals for all of my different series and books. Behind the scenes, there's videos, there's interviews, there's character art. It's amazing, and I would love to have you over there. And you can hit me up at K.m. Robinson Books on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. Also, make sure you hit up my YouTube channel for rebroadcasts just like this one of all of my shows, not just Young Adult Edition, and some amazing pre-recorded videos with fan Q&A, and all sorts of fun, fabulous things. There's trailers, there's behind the scenes, there's character text message convos. It's awesome. We would love to have you there. And of course, you can check out my brand new IGTV channel, where we have exclusive video content you can't find anywhere else. We would love for you to join us, especially for our Twisted Tuesday series, where we're talking all about my favorite topic, retellings. So come join us. It'll be totally awesome, and we would love to see you next week. We are here live on Facebook.com/k.m.robinsonbooks every single Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Young Adult Edition with myself and my co-host, Elle Beaumont. We are having a fun and fabulous time. We've had some incredible authors on today and in our past episodes. And I will tell you, we've got some big surprises coming up in the next few weeks and the next few months. I am so excited about this. It's going to be amazing. We would love to have you join us next week. We're talking all about fairy books. And Elle and I might have a little surprise for you. All we're saying is we might have a little surprise. It's going to be good. It's going to be amazing. I think it's going to make you giggle. We're extremely excited about it. We cannot wait to see you for next week's fairy episode of Young Adult Edition. Make sure that we see you here next week. Facebook.com/k.m.robinsonbooks, 10 a.m. Monday. It's going to be amazing. And little quick shout out because it's my show and because I'm really excited about this. Make sure you get your hands on a copy of Beyond the Shores, which comes out tomorrow. Final book in the Legends, wrong series. That was bad. Final book in the Siren Wars saga, final book in Selena's trilogy within the saga, because there's books 4, 5, and 6 coming out next year too. It's going to be good. It's going to be awesome. But to finish up Selena's story, you can get your hands on a copy of Beyond the Shores, which comes out tomorrow. And the first book is free. sirenwarsinfo.k.m.robinsonbooks.com to get your free copy of the Siren Wars and get jumped into that series. Sorry, I was getting notifications and I was definitely reading hers, and it threw me there for a second. A lot of notifications coming in today. A lot of notifications. And if you want more information about all of those mermaid things I told you about in the beginning, DM me, because I will get that info to you so that you can check that out as well, because I know I got a lot of comments in my direct message inbox as we were live about those mermaid pool parties. So reach out. I'll give you more information, and we'll see you next week for our episode of Fairy Books on Young Adult Edition. Thanks, guys, for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.